Okay, next we're going to hear from Nimbelink. Scott Schwalbe is the CEO. So we were talking a little bit earlier about Cat-M, Cat-1, and Nimbelink is a company that is bringing these modems into the market, working with the carriers. I think we've heard about Verizon's first Cat-M1 call on a live LTE network that happened in Florida earlier this year, and I think that was a Skywire modem, Nimbelink. So that's what we know so far about Nimbelink, and Scott's going to tell us some more. All right,
Yeah.
I'll get you over here. Excellent. All right.
Yeah, do I got a clicker? Or?
Yeah, this is.
All right. Good afternoon. Everybody hear me all right? All right, great. So welcome. Really looking forward to spending a couple minutes with you. Try to cram about 5 or 6 years of product development and deployment in IoT into 10 minutes. So that's what we're going to do right now. So rapid IoT development to deployment, I'm going to differentiate those a little bit, because if you think about, if you're creating an IoT solution, you're going to have to make a decision if you're going to build or buy, and I guarantee you're going to do both. And so how do you go through that process? How do you think about that through the various aspects of an IoT infrastructure? And I'll spend a little bit of time talking through that. So if you look at a typical IoT system architecture, you've probably seen this slide 2 or 3 times over the last 2 days, or some similar version of it. But you basically have your sensors. You have some level of if it's a mesh, if it's a star, if it's direct, a gateway going through your connectivity to a database, to a dashboard, to your analytics, and ultimately to create your ROI for your business decision. So we won't spend a lot of time on that. What are the key critical questions that we need to talk about and ask when we're actually thinking about make versus buy? It's really, do you need to own the IP in order to create value? So when we work with customers and we work with enterprises and we really start talking about at what level, where is your value? Is it really just, is it the end use? Is it analyzing the data? Is it the hardware? Is it the middleware? Is it the connectivity? In order to move quickly and drive through this, you have to make a decision. What is really important to your business model and what's critical for your IP? And then, do you really need to own the entire solution? Do you need to own all of the IP? Are you happy with buying some and making some and creating some? So we spend a lot of time in the requirements phase when we talk to a customer about proof of concept, talk about minimal viable products. We talk about production. We go through we go through those questions and really discuss where do you need to own the IP? What are you trying to protect? What what are you willing to go with open source? And spend that time really defining that before we actually start launching a solution. Second thing is time to market important. That's going to be critical if you're working through a decision-making process, if you should design something from the bottom up, or if you should actually start buying components and pulling those together. And I'm going to use a case study a little bit on a cellular integration and then a full production here. Second thing is, do you have the team in-house? So right now, IoT deployment takes a team. It's you need hardware, you need software, you need firmware, you need connectivity experts, database management, application developers. So if you've got all those in-house and you're working on that solution, that's great. Go deploy that and put it together, and you can build that out rather quickly. But if you don't, you have to go out and decide, where am I going to get those resources? Who's the solution partner that I'm going to pull in to actually do the overall architecture? So as was mentioned in the introduction, we're doing a lot with Cat-M1. We're doing a lot with cellular. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about if you're thinking about designing a product with cellular in it, what are some of the trade-offs you need to think about? So right now, you can do a chip-down design. If you're going to just grab, if you're going to do hundreds of thousands, you can work directly with the chipset manufacturers. You can go through that process. You could do a module. You could do design the module onto your board, or you could do a modem, or you could do like a router. So the trade-offs in each of these cases is that your end device needs to be fully certified on the carriers that you're using, and at each case, the certification cost and the time of market and the per unit cost changes. So cellular, you're starting from scratch, working very diligently through that process, and as you can see, the time and the cost per unit going off to the right. So what we do at Nimbelink is we take modules from the module providers and we put them onto a baseboard, put them onto a form factor, bring out the antennas, do everything we need to do to take those through end device certification. So when you buy a Nimbelink Skywire modem, it's end device certified. And then we've built the ecosystem around that with development kits and design services to help customers. So as mentioned, we do have the Cat M1 device that's in the market. It's certified on the Verizon network, and we're working continually to move that forward. So that's kind of in your connectivity on a cellular. But then what if you're going to do a full stack solution? So as we migrate, I'm going to just give you my evolution of make versus buy on a product that we're just coming out with. So got a simple little asset tracking device with GPS, cellular, running on the Cat M1 network, battery operated, integrated antennas, building up to a full visualization. And where do you buy, where do you make? So if you can make a decision right now, it's built out so if a person wanted to go deploy a unit like this, you can go find those right now where you could buy the unit, integrated fully with a secure communication up through the cloud with full visualization, and you can white label that and put your brand on that and take it to market. So if you're a market maker, you have a specific market that you're going after. Let's say it's you're in the rental business, or you're monitoring trailers, or you're in the construction business. You already have ERP system. You can go in out and buy that. If you want to, you can go make it. The other option is to go and you could buy certain sections of it. You could buy hardware. You could buy hardware from a company that's done some middleware, some middle management, and then you can make that far right part with the user interface and the analytics reporting. So you have to really spend some time and really understand the difference between your market. If you're doing a proof of concept, you obviously can go buy a Raspberry Pi and throw some sensors on it and throw it up to use the Verizon ThingSpace, or you could drive and do something really quickly. But your minimal viable product, you probably need to be spending a little more time thinking about that. And then obviously then when you go into your full solution, you're going to have to spend the time to actually spend the time, money, and effort to get it monetized through the full solution and get it production ready. So I tried to do that very quickly so we'd have plenty of time for questions, and I can dive deeper into any of these areas about Cat M1, about cellular, about product development and time frames. So I figured we could just stop. You might have some questions, and then we'll take it to the team and then go from there.
I guess my first question is, who do you see in each, you went through a great chart that showed the people that were doing a chip down design and then all the way to the people that were using a router. Can you just share a little bit about who's in each one of those categories? What types of products, what types of developers?
Yeah, so when you get into the chipset, if you look at somebody's deploying millions into the water meters, so forth, they're actually taking a chip. They're designing that into a framework. Obviously, your cell phones, a lot of your consumer devices, your Fitbits, and some of those that might actually have cellular, they're going through at the chipset level. At a module level, you're seeing it's really around volume. So folks that are deploying 10,000 units and above typically are doing module down design. A typical module down design effort is going to take 3 to 6 months of layout, and then another 3 to 6 months of certification. And depending on if you're going to one carrier, multiple carriers, global, you're going to spend $20,000, $30,000 in third-party testing for certifications. And then when you go into the modem, obviously the modems are going to be more expensive because there's some value added to those. We're finding 10,000 units and below. So if you're deploying a gateway, or you're deploying a product, or you're deploying an end device that's you're thinking you're going to be building roughly 10,000 units or below in the next couple of years, the modem fits very well because you can get to market quickly. You can and what we're actually working now, because we've been doing this for a few years. Somebody will walk up and say, well, I'm going to build 100,000 of these, and I'm going to do a module down. Well, that's great. Why don't we do the modem first, prove out the marketplace, get it out into market, and then we can migrate to a module down design. So we're finding depending on time to market. And then with the routers, seeing a lot of remote monitoring, folks that have a PLC or they have something running out there that has Ethernet coming out of it, where they don't want to go through any development, so they plug in an Ethernet to cellular type device. If there's any folks in here that have tried to put a device into Walmart or Target, some of these stores, they all thought, hey, I'll just go in and plug it into the Ethernet port into a big box retailer, and they get in there and say, well, you're not using my network. And so now they're scrambling and say, well, how am I going to get my data? How am I going to get the communication? So we're finding the router, the Ethernet to cellular routers, a really good application for those.
So for some of the more speculative prototypes where people don't know if there's a market yet, they're going to choose the modem or even the router. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so we're seeing, right now, folks buying, they'll buy a Raspberry Pi or a BeagleBone Black, or they'll buy some development kit, throw together, depending on what kind of connectivity they want, put it up onto a free portal, into a website. And what we're finding the big challenge with that is, I don't know, you can buy a Raspberry Pi for $30 or something, and because they're all being subsidized. And then they come to say, okay, I'm ready to take this to market, and they say, well, what do you mean I can't build 10,000 of these with this format? So you run into a challenge taking it. But yeah, for a quick proof of concept, as long as you know what you're getting into, and you know that, hey, I'm going to go out and prove the market, I'm going to go out and build a market, I know I can drive value and recurring revenue, knowing that there's going to be an investment then from taking it from that proof of concept to the minimal viable product to your pilot to your production, and then the sustaining is very important.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit though about the development boards, because we heard from some of those people yesterday, and I think you mentioned BeagleBone Black. I think maybe that was the board used in Florida when you tested with Verizon. Can you just give us a little perspective on those? Yeah,
I think that was, or we have a number of them. But for developers, these are very easy to grab a hold of. A microprocessor on board. They've built around the sensing and being able to just build a quick software development kit, development board, so that you can start building software around a processor, start building software around a particular platform. So TI, a number of these folks have come out with their development kits around certain processors, and then folks like us and sensor folks build capes or hats or whatever you call whatever's going to go on top of them to integrate to actually you can use multiple sensors. So it's a great baseline platform to get started with. So it's very valuable.
So just ballpark, if a developer wanted to get the TI board and the appropriate sensors and your modem, how much is that going to cost?
Yeah, it's under $200.
Okay.
And then we actually have created full development kits, and you're seeing a lot of development kits out there, IoT development kits that are driving into carriers that they've created them, and typically it's in that $200 dollar range when you're all in, putting it all together. So you can get started pretty inexpensively.
Okay, great. Do we have any questions for Scott? Okay, you talked a little bit earlier about starting with the modem and then, if everything goes well, going into the module down design. So, but what modules work with your modem? Not all of them, do they?
So the way we select modules right now to create the Skywire form factor is we work closely with the carriers, and then we work closely with the module manufacturers to make sure we have a roadmap with all the technology. So if we started out with the 2G, we wanted to make sure we had a 3G, and then we wanted to make sure we had, when we get into LTE, each use case is a little bit different. Maybe we talk a little bit about that, but Cat-M use cases are much different than a Cat-4. So we've got Cat-M, Cat-1, Cat-3, Cat-4, and then you've got category for those of you that aren't real familiar with the cellular world, and each one has different upload and download speeds. So for instance, drones right now that want to be flying and they want to send real live time data streaming down, they're going to be using a Cat-3 or a Category 4 modem, so they can actually do some streaming video. The connected cars are looking at what they, Category 6 and Category 10. They're way out there looking at, like, how can I just get no latency and just start streaming this live data like we're talking. So that's the goal when you get into some of these applications. Whereas you get further down in the road into the Cat-M area, we're talking about devices that are just waking up once or twice a day, sending a little bit of information. I suppose the narrowband IoT is even small, shorter than that. Just waking up once and sending just a couple bits of information for the data.
The bandwidth and the speeds are actually limited. They can only do so much, right?
That's correct. So each one by those categories are limited by how much upload and download speed and how much data, and then the latency. So they all have different use cases. So lots of there's a lot of module guys. They're all creating products for the 3GPP and for the networks, and we select to make sure we have a good consistent roadmap for our customers, because we create the same form factor. So if somebody creates a device that needs to be run in multiple countries or multiple areas, they basically just swap out our modem depending on where they're going to go. Because unfortunately, there's not, especially in the LTE world, there's not one module or modem that you can just put in and it's going to work globally. That's just not there yet.
Right. But here in the U.S., you're certified on the Verizon network, both for your Cat 1 and your Cat M. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. So and all the higher categories probably as well.
Yep, that's correct. And then the PTCRB, which is the AT&T, not on the Cat M yet, but in Cat 1 and Cat 3.
So with
Cat 4.
AT&T, you're certified with Cat 1 and the higher numbers, but not Cat M. Is
that's
that right?
correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So that'll just be following here shortly in the next few months.
Terrific. Okay,
as it's
great.
coming aboard.
And then your chipset supplier is Sequans?
Yeah, so right now we have Sequans, Gemalto, Telit, Sierra Wireless. So we use an array of module, and again, we select it by which carriers that they're approved on, and then also by the technology. So if we're agnostic, but we're putting them on, all of them are on our same form factor. So a customer can use them regardless. AT commands might be a little different, a little bit of software change, but ultimately they're in the same form factor, and we're selecting them based on. And so we're reviewing the roadmaps of all the module guys on a pretty consistent basis.
Okay. Now, you probably can't comment on this, but I'm sure you're at least talking to Sprint and T-Mobile. Do you think that we'll see much action from them in Category M or in IoT networks in general this year, or hard to say?
Yeah, they're definitely in the marketplace, and they're getting more aggressive, driving to LTE, driving to various parts of IoT. So they're definitely coming into the market, and we'll see when they'll come out with Cat M, but definitely they're already moving forward with the Cat 1. So we know Cat M will just be coming and following right behind that. So if there is a customer that's already using one of those carriers, they should just talk to them, and they can give them the list of modules and modems that'll work, because we have customers using both networks right now.
Right. And with the Cat M, though, can there be voice calls, or is that only in the Cat 1?
So my understanding, there is the capability coming.
It's coming?
Yes.
Okay.
Haven't really seen the use case for it yet, so I'm not sure what that use case is going to be.
Voice once or twice a day.
Yeah, I think in the kind of down the road for the emergency 911, the situations, if a device is sitting out in some remote site, that they're going to want to be able to push a button and talk to somebody. That's a possibility. I've seen that kind of use case coming up a little bit, but otherwise I haven't really seen a lot of demand, and we haven't had any customers ask for that yet.
All right, interesting.
So.
All right, any other questions for Scott? All right, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.